If you're looking for a premium soft top that will offer you an effortless way to get that open air experience and a configuration for whatever mood you're in your Jeep, this Bestop Super Top Ultra Soft Top in black twill for 2018 and newer four-door Wranglers will be one to look into. Now this top is going to be a great choice for the JL owner who's looking for a well-built and well-made as well as traditional looking soft top with incredibly useful and non-traditional features to make the most of their adventures. This is going to be great if you are constantly putting the top back and you want an easy way to access the open air and 4 unique ways to do it, all in a top that's going to last for whatever environment you're in. When the top is completely closed, this will have a squared back look to it for, again, that more traditional design and to maintain that vertical space in the cargo area. Now, when you're feeling like you want to open up the top, again, you have a couple of different options with this system. One of those being a bikini top, which is very simple to do by removing the rear window, so you can just have some open air without being completely exposed to the sun if you don't want to. Now, if you do want that sunshine down on you and your passengers, you can very easily flip open the top and fold it onto the back of the sports bar to expose the front and rear seats, and can do this with or without the rear windows installed. Now, if the windows are off, you can also fold this completely back and sit it on the tailgate just like the factory one, but this will feature the guide track system, so it's going to make it effortless and much less clunky than what you're used to with factory, so you really won't have to question if you really want to put the soft top back, because it's going to be very easy to do so and stay neatly tucked on the back for a clean looking fit. This system is well built and has a well thought out construction and is made of a number of different materials. Now the frame system and the bow system that's going to support this material here will be made of a steel with a powder coated finish on top to resist any weathering if it does see any weather. The header here is also going to be very structured with an aluminum and plastic construction. You're going to have factory located latches that are spring assisted, making it easy to unlatch these to fold the soft top back. Now the star of the show is this twill material. This is going to be a thick, high quality material, very similar to what you see on luxury convertibles. This will have the benefits of not only keeping that deep black look, but because of the thickness, it is going to be UV resistant, it'll be weather resistant, and it is going to help out with insulation and some sound dampening because of that thicker material. This will also have a guided track system or channel system for the windows, making them easy to install and remove. The windows will have a DOT tint to them to give more of that sleek appearance for the back of the top, and it is going to tuck in like the factory ones with that thick plastic channel tucking into the tub and the door surrounds. Speaking of the door surrounds, those will install with knobs very similar to factory and be made of a tough, thick plastic material. This is also going to come with all of the hardware, so you can have a question-free install when it comes time to put this on your Wrangler. Now this will come in at roughly $2,700 and is a premium option compared to the rest in the category. Now one of the reasons being is the twill material. This is going to be a high quality material compared to a sailcloth or a black diamond. It is a lot thicker than those options, which is going to up that price point, and it's going to be very durable, bulletproof as some customers will say in their reviews. So it's going to hold up to harsh conditions and keep this deep black look for years to come. It also has multiple configurations and hardware that makes it very easy to put it into those positions. So I personally think if you're looking for an easy to use and high quality top that's going to last for years on your Jeep and has that traditional look, this is going to be a great option to consider. Install will be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and the install will take you about 2 hours to get the job done. It is a little bit lengthy, but Bestop does have some really great instructions out of the box, so it should be fairly easy to do so. Now, I do recommend at least 72-degree weather to install this. As far as the fabric is concerned, that's going to allow the fabric to stretch a little bit more compared to a colder temperature where it won't stretch as much. So that's going to make your life a whole lot easier. Now at this point, we can head over to our shop and check out a detailed breakdown on how to get this onto your JL at home. So that is going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Tools required for this install include an electric ratchet, a 10mm ratcheting wrench, a hand ratchet, Phillips head screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, a T20 Torx driver, 4mm Allen wrench, 10mm socket, a Phillips head socket, a 4mm Allen socket, T30, T40, and T50 Torx bits. What's up guys? Today we're installing a soft top on our Jeep, so let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is assemble our sidebars. We have a bottom and a top piece that's gonna be held together by a couple of U-clips and a couple M6x20 bolts. So the first thing we're gonna do is take our U-clip. We want the side with the threads facing up. So slide that into place. Same thing for the other one. And then we can connect our two pieces. And then we'll get our bolt. I'm gonna take a 4mm Allen socket to get these started. Not a lot of room for your hands in there. And I'll throw that socket onto a ratchet to tighten them the rest of the way down. And then you can do the same thing for the other side. So now we can install our sidebar. This is gonna go right over the rear door. So we'll get this all lined up into place. Now for the top two, we're gonna be folding up this tab, and then we're gonna be putting our long bolt through the top into the threads up here. Now once you have those two bolts threaded in, we can take our small M8 bolt with a flat washer, and that's gonna be going right back here. And then we'll grab our T40 Torx socket and tighten all three of these down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can come to the very back of our roll bar here. We're gonna take a plastic trim tool. We can pull back on this cover to be able to get that in. Pop the clip out at the top and the bottom. And then we're gonna be installing our brackets. These are stamped with left hand and right hand for driver, right hand for passenger. And they also have an arrow showing you which way is up. So we'll just slide those two pins into the slots. And then we can take our M8 bolts and thread into the two threaded holes. Then we'll take our T40 Torx socket and tighten these down. Next, we can install our tailgate bar retainer. We'll slide that right on the end, and then we have an M8 bolt that we thread into that threaded hole. And we'll take a T50 Torx socket to tighten it down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our lift assist assembly. We have this little pin here that's gonna slide into this hook, and then we'll line up our two holes for our bolts and nuts on the back. Thread our nut on the back here. And then do the same thing for this bottom hole. And then you can take a T30 Torx socket and 10mm wrench to tighten this down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Now we can slide our Velcro tie-down strap onto this hook here. And same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our number 6 bow onto the assemblies that we just put in place. And then we can thread in our two bolts. Next, we can thread in our T30 shoulder screw from the outside going in. And then we're just gonna raise this up so it sits against the pads here, and then we can tighten down that bolt. Next, we're gonna attach our number 5 bow to our lift assist assembly bracket at the top here. Now the number 5 bow is the one with 2 sets of 2 holes on each side. In addition, on one side, they have 2 smaller screw holes on the very outside. Those 2 holes are gonna face the front of the Jeep. So once you have that in place, you can take your bolts. We've got our M8x30s here, and we're gonna thread those in to the lift assist assembly bracket. And then we'll grab that T30 Torx socket to tighten these down and do the same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our pivot bracket. So we're gonna take the same bolts that we just used and thread those into the nuts. And we'll take our T30 Torx socket to tighten this down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our side bow assembly. Now you're gonna wanna find this roller right in the middle. This is gonna go into the channel on this side rail here. And then the way you know you have the right one is if you have a hole at the back and the roller facing the rail. So now we're gonna slide this under our bar here. And then we'll get that roller up and into the channel. And then slide this whole thing towards the front. And you're gonna keep sliding that until the hole in the bracket lines up with our bar here. Next, we can grab our hex head shoulder bolt. We're gonna take the thick spacer, put that on the outside here, and then we're gonna slide that through the hole. We'll put our thin spacer on the inside there, and then we can thread it into that bracket. And then once we have that threaded in, we'll take a 10mm socket and tighten it down. And then once we have that installed, we can take this cover and slide it over the end of our side, and then we'll thread in our 2 little Allen head bolts. And then we'll take a 4mm Allen wrench. We don't really have much room here for anything else. And we can tighten those down. And then you can repeat that same process on the other side. So now we can install the front portion of our rails. These are going to slide into the ones above our rear door. Slide that in. And then we'll get this down into our slots. And then we'll take those long T40 bolts, flip this tab up, and then we can thread those in. And then we'll take our T40 Torx socket and tighten these down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can attach our number 4 bow. This is going to go on the rear side of this bracket. And we'll thread in our M8 bolts, M6 bolts. Now I'm going to use a T30 Torx socket just to get these started. And now we'll take our T30 Torx socket to tighten this side down and do the same thing on the other side. And now we can repeat pretty much the same process for our number 3 bow. The only difference is this is going in front of the bracket instead of behind it like the number 4. And once again, T30 Torx socket to tighten these down. And then do that same thing on the other side. And now we'll install our number 2 bow, front side of the bracket once again with those same bolts. and then the T30 Torx socket to tighten it down. And then that same thing on the other side. Now we can come back to our rearmost bar. We're gonna be using the inside hole here and inserting a grommet. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. So now I've got our soft top laid over the windshield and the hood. We have our number 1 bow here with our latches. We have these 2 T20 Torx screws that we need to take a T20 Torx driver to remove. And once you do that, you can do the same thing on the other side. I've already got that all set up. So now we can flip this over. We're gonna raise up our bar. And then we're gonna line it up with these 2 bolt holes. And then we can take our tiny Allen head bolts and thread those into the holes. You can use a 4mm Allen socket or Allen wrench to thread these in. And now with both of our bolts threaded into place, we can take a 4mm Allen socket and tighten these down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. So now I flip the soft top over the frame, and now we can reinstall this little bracket with those 2 Torx screws. So now I flip the soft top up over our frame, and we can pull this tab around to reinstall that with those 2 little Torx screws that we pulled out earlier. And then once we have those in, we can grab our pad that we're going to be mounting up here. We'll pull the backing off of our pad. And then we can just line this up and stick it down. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can come to the back to our number 6 bow. We have this tension cable coming out of our soft top. We're gonna be mounting that to the side to this hole right there. So we're gonna be using our screw. We have one on the other side that's gonna poke through that has the threads. And then we'll put our cable down onto there, and then we'll take our screw. And then we'll grab a flathead screwdriver to tighten that down the rest of the way. And we'll do that same thing on the other side. So now we'll come back to our number 6 bow. We have these 2 screw holes and this flap here that we're gonna be mounting into it. Now I've put the screws through the fabric just to make this a little bit easier. So we can drop one of the screws into the hole. And then we'll just start that a thread. And then drop the other side in. And now I'm just going to switch over to a Phillips head bit on a ratchet. Give a little bit more control here. And you can do that same thing on the other side. Now next we can follow that strap back, and we have another 2 holes that we're going to be threading into our number 5 bar. Now this flap is going to go towards the front on this side of the bar. So I'm going to do that same thing again, thread my screws into the fabric, and then we can pull it back here. You might have to stretch it a little bit, so it might be a good idea to have an extra set of hands to help you pull this backwards to line it up. Now on the inside of our number 6 bow, we have all of these slots in the soft top, which line up to a bunch of holes in the bow. So we're gonna take 9 more self-tapping screws, and thread these in. Next, we're gonna hop up front. We're gonna push forward on our top so that we can latch this into place. Now next, we can connect all of our Velcro straps. We have these on the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 bar. So you're gonna do the same thing for all 4 of those. And then just repeat that process, moving your way back. So now we're ready to install our side windows. We have this little channel here that's gonna slide over this piece. So we'll get that lined up. And then slide it on. And we'll tuck this piece under. And then this piece is gonna be tucked into the channel on our side rail here. We're gonna pop that into place. And we'll pull the slack on our window. Now on the bottom, we're gonna do the same thing as the side. We have this flap that's gonna tuck in right under here. Now next we can do our corner piece. We have this little rod that's gonna go into our grommet that we installed earlier. And then we have our strap that's gonna buckle to the backside of this bottom piece. After we get that in place, we have a couple more of those tabs that's gonna click up and under here. We'll pop these tabs out and tuck them up and under. Now once you have both of your side windows installed, we can move on to the back. Same thing with this little channel that's gonna slide into this. Next, we can install the piece that's gonna latch into our 2 clips. Once again, channel, we're gonna slide it in to the back side of the window here. Now, once we have that in, we can put it into our little clips. Just like that. And now once again, just like the side windows, we have these little flaps that are going into here. We also have one on the bottom to hook into here. Now you might need to push this side piece over to get this to hook in. And then you can pop that bottom in. And then do that same thing on the other side. And now we can just fold down our top. We're gonna Velcro it to the side and repeat the same process on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Bestop Super Top Ultra Soft Top Black Twill for your 2018 and newer Jeep Wrangler JL 4-door. Thank you for watching, and for all things Wrangler, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.